Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Throughout the world, only one company produces all types of business machines and systems, Remington Rand, who now invite you to play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, a gentleman who has just returned with his wife from being a smashing success at the Fontainebleau in Miami. He's going to be a smashing success here with us tonight, Mr. Peter Lind Hayes.
Thank you very much, Arlene. We have a jolly group here because of the snow. The second row is packed. I can see that from here. On my left, a very talented lady, newspaper woman, a member of the Fourth Estate, and I'd like to have a fourth of her estate. She just returned from Cuba. Senorita Dorothy of Kilgallen, ladies and gentlemen.
Muchas gracias. Now I would like to introduce a gentleman who has just returned from East 62nd Street, mushed all the way, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Now, on my left, a man who's not only a preeminent news commentator and our panel moderator, but 8 of the 10 best-dressed men in America, Mr. John Charles Davis.
Bennett. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have some very interesting occupations tonight, and with Peter Lind Hayes back visiting us again, it is our dearest hope that we shall send him home with a decent respect for the kind of occupations we bring. In other words, they won't get any of them. We'll also have a famous mystery guest a little bit later in the show, but right now, let's meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Black? Black Beaver, is that right? It's a bit of a strange name. We haven't had one like that.
That is my Cheyenne name. I'm a full-blooded Cheyenne Indian.
Full-blooded Cheyenne Indian, and you're known as Black Beaver?
Right.
All righty, fine. We'll presume there's another name that you use otherwise, but this is certainly good enough. Where are you from?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Fine. Well, we'll use Black Beaver if it's all right with you. Okay? Fine. Black Beaver, the panel. Panel, Black Beaver. Will you come with me now, please? And sit right down here. Do you know how we keep score, sir?
Yes.
Fine. If you do, let's let the folks at home and our friends here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Black Beaver is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Black Beaver, may I call you both names, or should I call you Black or Mr. Beaver? I'm not quite sure.
Both names.
Oh, all right. Black Beaver, you have an exceptionally fine physique. Do you do anything that might be considered athletic?
No.
No, I don't think so. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Black Beaver, you're salaried. Do you work possibly for a non-profit making organization?
Yes.
You do work for The reason I ask that is you have a keen look. Have you anything to do with the apprehension of criminals of any kind?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Brynner.
I thought he was an FBI man.
No. Black Beaver, I want you to think of me as white mink. I have to ask you to forgive me, but I didn't understand what the tribe was. Which tribe is it?
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne? Do you hold a position of importance in the Cheyenne tribe?
No.
That makes it 3 down and 7 to go.
You
Mr.
should.
Hayes.
They're making a terrible mistake.
All right, Peter Lind.
Did you have to have a reservation to get into this country?
That'll be all.
No, I'm just joking. My son said that Christmas Day, and I thought it was rather attractive. Did we establish that he was connected with athletics?
No,
The
he
question
wasn't.
was asked
He
in
was
that
not.
area, and a negative answer was given.
And non-farm.
Are you connected with any branch of the government?
Yes.
And you said it didn't have to do with law enforcement, is that right?
That's right.
Is it the federal government?
Yes.
Federal government. Federal Bureau of Indians. FBI. Well, would you have anything to do, say, for instance, with a Congress or a meeting of some sort that would contribute to the welfare of the Indians?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you a member of the armed forces?
Yes.
That is your current job.
Yes.
You do have a keen look. Do you operate any sort of a naval or airship, or have anything to do with the operation of a naval or airship?
Yes.
No, I just have to find out which.
Which?
Is it an airship?
Yes.
Is it a special... Are you a pilot?
Yes.
Yes.
That's right, Dorothy. Actually, I think we have to give it to you on that. More specifically,
Jet?
Second Lieutenant Lawrence Hart is a jet fighter pilot with the United States Marines. Actually, Lieutenant Hart, if we may now go to the name that you use every day, how did you get into the Marine Air Corps?
I went through the aviation cadet program.
Fine. You like it?
Oh, yes. I really love it.
There's an old Marine friend of mine, Lieutenant Colonel or Light Colonel or Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Gear out on the West Coast. Do you know him by any chance? He's written a lot about the Marine Corps. One of the finest books on the Korean War was written by
No. I
Andy
don't.
Gear, as a matter of fact. The New Breed. But it's about Marines, and you ought to get a hold of it because you have good reason to be proud of your service, and I think Andy Gear's written the story very well. It's rather been out for a few years, but I think you'd like to read it. Thank you very much for coming to see us. And do you have any relationship at all with the Cheyenne tribe now? Do you go out and participate at all?
No.
You don't at all. You just, the Marines take all your time.
Yes.
They usually do. Thanks very much. It's nice to have had you with us, Lieutenant. Well, it's a very good beginning, panel. Let's see what we can do, however, with the second challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please? Right there. Louis. Castaneda, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Actually, I think we'll dispense with any further information where you're concerned, only because there is some possibility you would tell too much, all right? Good deal. I want you to, here's the panel right here. Very fine group of people, for the moment anyway. Come on in and sit down with me, would you? Do you know how we keep score? Every time you give a no answer, we flip a card, and 10 no's, and you've won the game. All set? And let's let everybody at home and our friends here know exactly what your line is. Mr. Castaneda is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Bennett Cerf.
Mr. Castaneda, is that a Spanish name that
Yes.
you have? Do you come from either Spain or one of the Spanish-American countries?
Well, from Spain, yes.
Spain.
This does not, actually, this is here goes to the basic, where he basically comes from, Bennett, on the
Yes,
question that you
yes.
asked. Not a necessarily present dwelling place.
Senor Castaneda, is there a product connected with your work?
No, sir.
No, not by our terms of reference. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Mr. Castaneda, senor, do you have to be agile in your particular job?
Yes, I think it requires some degree of agility.
Do you have anything to do with an animal in your job?
An animal? 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Hayes.
He is not a bullfighter. No, no toreador.
Have you met Ava Gardner? Well, I was going along the same lines that Arlene was approaching there, I would be inclined to think that you had something to do that might be considered of a physical nature. Is this true?
You mean specifically requiring a special physical talent, etc.?
Well, I'll pinpoint it and say athletically inclined. Does it have anything to do with sports?
Oh, fine. That's what we were hoping you'd do. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, do you occupy some sort of a job that might be considered at least partially executive?
No, I don't think we can call what you do executive. No, that's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Castaneda, or Senor Castaneda, is there any music in your life?
Like Castaneda?
I didn't mean playing the Castanedas either.
You mean
no,
that
I mean,
himself?
is there music in some way involved in the work that you do?
No, sir.
No, I don't think so, Bennett. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
But you did admit, Senor Castaneda, that you do have to be a little agile in your job. Is that correct?
Some
agility is required.
Yes, is required.
Is there anything about your job that would be considered dangerous?
No, I don't.
Why should you have to bother to be agile if it isn't dangerous? I wouldn't make a move if it wasn't dangerous.
Why, Arlene, that's not
No,
true.
this agility, I think, is required, but I don't think we can say that this is dangerous
No,
anyway. About the best you might get off. Well, never mind. Mr. Hayes.
No.
Would it have anything to do with a particular style of food?
Particular style of food.
Oh, I can see it coming.
No, you got it.
No.
That's 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Senor, is what you do more popular or more indigenous to Spain or a Spanish-American country than it is to the people of the United States of America?
Is it more popular and more indigenous?
Or more indigenous?
I don't think we would agree, Dorothy, that Americans have any less interest in the service which Mr. Castaneda has to deliver than those in Spain or
Let's be
Latin America.
romantic.
Mr. Castaneda, do you perform a personal service, then, of some sort?
No, I don't think we could call it a personal
Not a
service.
personal.
No, 9 down and 1 to go, Miss Francis.
Oh, now, wait a minute. We're in big trouble here. We've only got 1 to go, and we've gotten no place. And there is no product connected with what Monsieur
That's right. That's
Senor
been determined.
Castaneda does. Do you have anything to do with locomotion in any way? Is it a good idea for you to be associated with locomotion? Or are you?
I don't think we would describe exactly what Mr. Castaneda does as having to do with locomotion.
If he moves from one place to another, it's locomotion.
Well, he doesn't. He stays pretty still because when you're managing a roulette wheel, it's the wheel that goes around and the ball just goes around in the dick. And Mr. Castaneda is the man who runs a roulette wheel, and he runs it in a little place called Wilbur Clark's Casino in the Nacional Hotel in Havana, Cuba, and he took $20 away from Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
I just have a mental block against fellows who do that to me. I want to forget him.
Miss Dorothy, I think you have because he came up on the same airplane with you, too.
Oh, no.
I must say, sir, if I may, because I imagine you're going back down to the Nacional and to the casino, that I told Miss Dorothy about my being down there, how much I enjoyed it, and you have a new devotee. She had a wonderful time in Havana, even if you did take $20 away from her. Now, that's a fine compliment.
It was well worth it.
Well worth it. And thank you very much, Mr. Castaneda. It was nice to have you with
John,
us.
I'd like to ask one question. What do you consider the lucky numbers down there?
Lucky number?
Yeah.
Either one.
Either one. Big help.
Thank you, Mr. Castaneda. Nice to have you in. In just a moment, we'll meet tonight's Miss. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my friends on the panel are all blindfolded. Blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
John.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel. As you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it all with Arlene Francis.
heavens. Well, from that reaction, you are no Johnny-come-lately. Have you been admired by audiences in motion picture theaters?
Got a bad tooth. That's yes. Mr. Hayes?
Judging from that ovation, do you play a guitar and sing?
Nope. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss
He has
Kilgallen.
long sideburns.
Oh. Well, he couldn't have long sideburns if he doesn't play a guitar and sing.
Oh, that was Whistler's mother. I missed that answer. What does that mean when he whistles?
That was a no, wasn't it?
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought
How do you know it's a man?
It's a
I
man's
don't.
whistle.
Do you play or sing anything? I mean, do you play anything or sing? Yes? No?
Yes and no, that is. It isn't necessarily the only area of achievement. Mr. Cerf?
Well, I'm going to cut this Gordian knot right now. Are you a man?
Yeah. Miss Francis?
Wowie. Have you appeared in the theater?
Yep. Mr. Hayes?
Have you appeared in a currently popular motion picture?
Yeah. Miss Kilgallen?
Are you more associated with motion pictures than with the stage?
This, not to mislead you, I would say that there is a very great area of identification in both the theater and motion pictures, although I would be willing to agree that in present terms, the emphasis might be on motion pictures. Mr. Cerf?
Have you won any of the year's top awards from any of these committees that are giving out prizes all over the place?
What's that?
Is that a yes?
Yes, that's right. Miss Francis?
That's a yes?
Yeah.
That narrows it down to about
I'm going to
3,000.
ask our guest to use his voice hereafter, because I think perhaps we ought to give you a break.
Do you have blonde curly hair?
The answer is no. 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Hayes.
Did you direct one of the first television shows Mary and I ever did called The Star Club, and is your name Yul Brynner?
Hey, Daddy-o. That's wonderful. I must say, I have a very special affection for Yul. In my early days in television, I don't know whether he'll even remember it. We used to do a television program called We Take Your Word. Remember? We used to have more fun. It was derivation of words, you know. And we used to, I think, very often play to what might be called a very small audience, but we liked it, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
We liked it very much.
I
We had
think
a lot of
Mr.
fun.
Brynner misled us at one point. You
How
do
so?
play a guitar.
But not
He said
professionally.
yes. He said yes.
No, he plays it in Anastasia.
Oh, yes. That's right.
My fault, then.
I thought
Take
we
care.
got a qualified yes from that.
We did on the music. We said that there was a qualification.
Anyway,
that
it's
music
always
was
nicer
important.
to hear you talk, Yule, than it is to hear you whistle. As much as we like to have you whistle it up.
That is you playing it in Anastasia, isn't it? That wasn't a double.
Yes.
You
I
do play
did
it yourself.
He sings, too.
He's an old guitar
Yes.
player. In the
Yes,
early
the most
days.
beautiful crew cut I've ever seen.
Yule, it's wonderful to see you again after all these
Wonderful
years,
to
and
see
nobody has taken as much pleasure as I from your tremendous success, and you deserve it, too. Good to see you, Danny.
Thank you, sir.
Little old white mink and her blonde curly hair. All right, let's see what we can do with the final challenger, please. Will our next challenger come in and sign in? Lillian? Che? Deckel. Is that right? And is it Miss or Mrs.?
It's Mrs.
Mrs., and where are you from?
The Bronx.
The Bronx? Oh, you're a neighbor. You know all these people then, don't you? At least you recognize them. Will you come over here and sit down, please? And you know how we keep score?
Yes.
All right, let me get things back to 0 here, and we'll let everybody At home, those with us know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. Mrs. Chidekel is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Peter Lind Hayes.
Mrs. Chidekel, do you deal in services?
No.
Yes.
Sorry.
Not sure, eh? Would I be happy to avail myself of your services?
At times.
I would say that under certain circumstances, the service here could give you much pleasure.
Would it at any time make me unhappy to have your services?
That's possible.
You don't yank teeth, do you?
No.
You've had it. No is the answer to that one. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss. Wait a minute. You don't yank
No, that's
teeth.
yes,
That's right.
no.
Double
Yes,
negative
you
is the
don't
affirmative.
yank
Sorry.
teeth.
All right, Peter. I did it. I'm sorry. You go ahead, Pappy.
Would a person come to you for these services?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Could ladies as well as gentlemen avail themselves of your services?
Yes.
And it would be the same degree of happiness or unhappiness involved?
Yes.
Is there any product involved?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Then, Mrs. Chidekel, you perform a service of some kind,
Yes.
and you go to people to perform it.
Yes.
Do you do this service indoors?
Yes.
Would you say that the service that you render is more of a mental type than a physical type?
Yes.
Yes, let me have just a small cunt. All right. Go ahead, Bennett.
It is more of a mental type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you say that you give these lucky people that you visit advice of some kind?
No.
No. That's 3 down and 7 to go. Miss Francis.
Mrs. Chidekel, would you go mostly to homes rather than to offices?
Yes.
When you go there, do you ask for some information of some kind?
Yes.
You are salaried, did you say, John?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Do you inquire as to how many there are in the family? Would that be of any importance to you to know that in your job?
No.
But you'd ask the question.
He's never been to our house.
Yes, I would say that's a question that might
Do
be.
you garner from your travels around a certain statistical number? I mean, do you arrive at a statistical result?
Yes.
Do you inquire about what people are doing regarding a certain thing?
Yes.
Do you ask them if they ever listen to What's My Line? No,
You're
no.
kidding, aren't you, Arlene?
No. Yes,
You're kidding? All right, go ahead, dear.
Do you think you maybe do something like that?
Yes.
She does do so. You're trying to get me out of it, weren't you? It was a very bad filibuster, John. You got nowhere. Well, then, are you sort of one of the people that works on polls?
Yes.
What kind, greased or just plain?
Now, you know perfectly well.
Beg pardon, Arlene?
I wonder whether Mrs. Chidekel works on a survey of some kind to garner information regarding people's likes and dislikes as to television, radio, or some such thing in programming.
I'm afraid you're right, Arlene. Yeah. Mrs. Chidekel works for Pulse, which is familiar to all of you and to our viewing public. If you are not familiar with it, it's one of the prominent rating services. They query people in their homes and then determine by very scientific processes, which are beyond my competence at least, just how many of the certain citizens of a town look at television
How are
shows
we
and so
doing,
on.
Mrs. Chidekel?
Oh, very well.
Are we doing well? That's
You
fine.
should give some advice from now on. Tell them to listen to What's My Line.
Oh, it's a wonderful program.
Well, now that's fine. Thank you. I suppose it actually wouldn't be. It would be unethical for you to become one of our, shall we say, publicists when you go out on this.
Afraid I
But if you can
I have to
slick
be
us-
unbiased.
Be unbiased. Just say that you're completely unbiased about What's My Line. It's very good. You do that? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Kilgallen. Nice to have you. our panel says good night, here is a word from next week's sponsor. And so, until next week at about this same time, or 29 minutes and a few seconds earlier, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Arlene Francis. Hello?
Oh, I was just thinking about Yul Brynner in the Ten Commandments. We forgot to talk about that, and he's so good in it.
But he doesn't need blonde curly hair.
No, I just happened to think about it.
He is very good.
Well, good night, Peter Lynn Hayes.
Good night.
And when you're bald-headed, I'll talk to you more nicely, too.
I just want to remind you, good night, Mrs. Gable. Also, what better way to close the show than my favorite epitaph? I think you'll enjoy this. It appeared on the tombstone of a hypochondriac, and all it said was, "You see, I told you I was sick." Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Peter. Good night, Bennett.
Good night, John. No time for more.
No. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
Travel arrangements on What's My Line are made through American Airlines. American Airlines flies our contestants in luxurious comfort aboard DC-7 flagships. What's My Line is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production in association with the CBS Television Network. Be sure to see Remington Rand's great television program.